outweighed the risk. And so after going through all of this and looking, the only thing that was not here was the actual consent form. But we felt that the criteria from step 1 to, how far do we get, 12? Were in favor of supporting and approving this project.
Thank you. So there's, before we get to the second group, let me just summarize something that's important. This was one of the teaching points. This is a project in development. So if you read the protocol, it says that our stakeholders, and by that I'll interpret the Community Action and Accountability Board as a stakeholder, for instance. It's the community, that the community is going to modify, like we will, some of the plans, some of the measures, some of the consent document. So you do not have a final protocol here. And the way to manage that is there something really wrong with the protocol that you want to alert the PI about? Okay. They may not be aware that they needed to, for instance, send to the IRB the measures or something. And what you can say is, we approve this planning up to this point, but you cannot do the research until you send us the final everything. And it has to be the final consent that the community has helped write, the stakeholders, what this was called, the stakeholders. Also the measures. You will not believe the number of measures we see where the researcher says there are no identifiers in it, but they have on the upper right corner the name. Or, much more common, but that does happen. I mean, hello, where are you? Where there's statistical identification, and the IRB needs to become an expert about that. So if the research measure is asking, the demographics, is asking for date of birth, that is very, very identifying. Especially if it's sort of like the outliers, the very old or the very young. Or it's asking for age. Not quite as identifying as a date of birth, but the same thing, especially the outliers. The people who are less common at that age. So we almost always say you need age range. And depending on the number that you're talking about, like 20 to 24, 25 to 30, or something like that. But then you combine it with gender, and if they start asking for the gender, not just male or female, but male, female, lesbian, all that becomes very identifying for the few. Okay? Or they ask for tribe. Now, most people here, suppose at the Ney College, this is involving, say, students, are Diné, but not all. So if you ask for a specific tribe, or even if it's at Lummi, and this researcher on the Lummi Reservation, it's about 5,000 people, Indians, this checkerboard, and you ask for just gender and tribe, my wife would be identified. She's the only Alutiiq on the reservation who's a woman. So statistically, what you need to do is, the IRB needs to require things like, you ask for, are you, in this case, Navajo, other. And then you avoid the statistical identification, especially if this is sensitive research. This is not, this particular protocol is not. So the IRB needs to become an expert in thinking about statistical identification and picking up that. And again, you have to see the final everything. Don't accept that it does not have identifiers. You want to look at it, the questionnaire, the survey, in order to make sure it doesn't have identifiers. So this is a good example of research that is in development and how you handle that, and you can approve it at this point to continue the planning. But this is not approval to do the research. Before we see that, before we look at that, we need to see everything that you're proposing to use, including the consent. And we may make requirements to change those. And especially if you have a hard chair, there'll probably be changes. And I'm only joking when I was saying, when I was talking about, it's important to have a hard chair. It is important to really be careful about things. Okay? And of course, the chair's not listening to me, and that's usual. Actually, group 2 is going to report something. Go on. Okay.
We agree with everything that group said. That's exactly what we said. And then in addition to all of that, we had a conversation about, we actually dropped the ball, I dropped the ball, and we started having a conversation about how beneficial today has been, how much we've learned, and how amazing it is to come together as an institution like this, representing so many different departments. It's true, you guys are left, this is what we were talking about. And we started brainstorming about how we could support more research at this institution for our students. So right now we have so many students that are going through the Psych 413 Advanced Indigenous Research Methods class, and we have it set up in Psych so that students can complete that in the fall. And if they want to continue their project and potentially publish it, they could take an undergraduate research Psych 498 course in the spring, so it essentially serves as an honors thesis. And there are multiple departments who have students who might be interested in research specific to a particular discipline who would want a similar experience. We started talking about how we could coordinate and integrate across disciplines to offer students from multiple departments and multiple schools this kind of experience. And so we were saying in psychology we have this Advanced Indigenous Research Methods course, and in public health we're kind of like in parallel doing the same thing. We have Dinesh Studies students coming to Psych 413. There was an express interest in having education students, maybe social work students. So instead of having like separate courses and then sending like students from particular disciplines to another discipline, how can we coordinate across the schools, across the disciplines, to offer a senior level research experience for students who would benefit from that experience? And we started saying, well, maybe we could have like one common course that offers a common advanced Indigenous research methodology curriculum, and then each student is assigned like for like maybe a 1 credit additional workload, a mentor across the different disciplines who, because like Christine, Ami, and I team teach the research methods course, but we're not faculty in Dinesh Studies. So we shouldn't be mentoring. We can provide a lot of the skill set and a lot of the knowledge and support, but it should be a Dinesh Studies faculty that provides a specific mentorship on the topic of that project and how to carry it out in a way that's consistent with the goals of Dinesh Studies, right? And the same thing for education. I don't know a lot about education research, so that student would need a mentor. So how can we have like a common advanced research methods opportunity, and then have students assigned to mentors for an additional workload credit who can mentor their particular project as they move through that senior level experience. That's what we discussed.
So I'm going to disagree strongly with Sarah on one thing. And I know you're all surprised by that. Why are you not surprised? I don't think that was a mistake. This was very valuable discussion. The purpose of today is to do what the College needs. And here's an example. And I don't know where it's going to end up. Obviously, you need to talk with everyone else. You know that routine. But I think this is very valuable. And so both experiences right now are very valuable. If I'd like to take just a little bit longer and talk about something that I did not talk about when we talked about harms, potential harms to communities and tribes. And I've seen this twice, what I'm about to talk about. The first time I saw it was with a federal researcher who went to a tribe. He was doing alcoholism research. And it was very good research, by the way. This is a very good researcher, with one exception, in terms of being good. He went to the tribe, a specific tribe, and said, "Can I do this research on you?" And the tribal council said no. Now, the proper response should have been, can we talk more? Can I talk with some people how I can make this research acceptable to you? That would be respecting the tribe. That would be saying, I want to work with you. And you have something important to say, and I need to learn about it. And I'm not, going to go away. I'm going to work with you and hope you will ultimately agree that something that I would like to do, probably change, that will benefit you, because it looks like my research is you not seeing that it's benefiting you, will benefit you, and then we can do this together. That's the right response. That's the adult response. That's the respectful response. Remember, what is the first principle of the Belmont Report? Respect for persons. That's being respectful for the tribe. This researcher did something different. He knew that there was a town off-res, and that there were people from the res living off the res in the town. So he recruited them to make the same research. That was a shortcut and highly disrespectful of the tribe. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if the tribe found out about it. I don't know what their response was if they did find out about it. But if I was a tribe, I would be very angry and not permit research to be done for a while on my reservation. And the same thing can happen at a tribal college. And that's the second instance. And I, first of all, blame less the researcher. I do blame the researcher. Where, in the case of the tribal college, it was a tribal college person who did the same thing. Wanted to do research on the tribe. The tribe said no. So this person went, I'm not going to reveal any identities, went and did it at the town. Recruited people from the town living off-res. And it harmed the tribal college as well. Because after all, the tribal college was responsible, had said, you, researcher, need to get tribal approval. And then when the researcher did it without tribal approval, in spite of tribal disapproval, the standing of the tribal college vis-a-vis the tribe was harmed. But the biggest harm was, of course, the tribe. They were disrespectful. Disrespected, excuse me. And haven't we been there before for the past 500 years? But I, in both cases, blame that person's supervisor even more, who should have known better, and maybe even, by the way, made the suggestion. I don't know who originated in either case. Because the person up, one step up, was responsible for doing ethical research. And the first principle of ethical research is respect for persons. And that was violated big time. And in this other case, it was the person's academic advisor. I guess that was the technical term. Or it may have been mentor, for all I know. And mentored the wrong stuff. So, I think it's important to think about research, whether it is respectful of the tribe or not. And that's a harm if it is disrespecting the tribe. We didn't talk about the kinds of disrespect, but that was one. It's not the only kind, but that was one kind. And I think it's important for the IRBs to be alert for that. Because it's happened too much, too often, to too many tribes, probably to all tribes. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. And that's what you, the net college IRB, can do something about. So again, I raise my hands and say, Haishka, CM, I learned a lot today. I hope I assisted you a little bit in what you're doing. And what you're doing is very important. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just am so grateful for today. It was an amazing day. Just a couple quick announcements, because I know everybody's like, you've got one foot, you're ready to go. We're going to have dinner in Chile for anybody who wants to join us. I know that most people are heading in the other direction. Nevertheless, the invitation is there. And we'll be back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. There is breakfast provided for participants. Before 9 a.m., there'll be a sign, there's supposed to be, I'll go over there and make sure there is, there'll be a sign-in sheet at the cafeteria. You eat breakfast for free. And then we'll start here at 9 a.m. So if you want breakfast, just head over to the cafeteria. I'll come here early to make sure that they know that participants get breakfast. And we'll have lunch the same way tomorrow at the cafeteria. But we'll start here at 9 or shortly thereafter. So make sure to stop and have breakfast beforehand. Otherwise, thank you for being here. Safe travels. Enjoy your Sunday evenings. Go drive safely and get a good night's rest.